Right. I'm so sorry, gang. I've been chatting away for 27 minutes and I hadn't pressed the go live button. Oh, what an idiot. Good to see you, Stacey. Good to see you, Gareth. I've been banging on about pedals and I'm thinking there's not a lot of interaction. I went into the Stream Health and there's nothing showing there. And then I went back into StreamYard and I hadn't pressed go live. Dope. Right. We'll do this again. Round 2. Good afternoon. Take 2. Welcome to Brooks's Bass Corner, live chat 96, coming to you all the way from London here in the UK. Hope you're all safe and well. If you're wondering what that intro is implying, basically I've just spent the best part 27 minutes doing this live chat and I hadn't pressed go live. I got caught up in getting the lights right and the camera right and the sound right and this, and if you press the 48-volt phantom power button and and it said at the top of the StreamYard window, it's showtime, time to go live. And I'm thinking, no one's talking. I can't see anything. I'm not seeing anything in the analytics. I hadn't pressed go live in the top right-hand corner of my screen. So everything I've just banged on about for 27 minutes is recorded within StreamYard. I will save that as a clip for posterity and edit that up for the funnies video that clearly I need to do at some point. So for anyone who's tuned in and gone, where the hell is he? It's a black screen. I'm here. I've been chatting away to myself. Amazing. Right. I'll try and repeat everything. It was a really good chat as well. Well, I thought it sounded good. But anyway, hope you're all safe and well. Wherever you are on the planet, I hope life is treating you good. Welcome, Brooks's Bass Corner, live chat 96, coming to you all the way from London here in the UK. If you want to talk about basses, amps, effects, strings, accessories, gig bags, great bass players, bands with great bass players in, albums with great bass playing on, this is the place to do it. We're the only regular bass live chat here on YouTube. So if you want to come in, talk bass, here's the place to do it. Come on in. We're a friendly bunch. Good to have you on board. New subscribers this week. Welcome. Good to see you. Regular subscribers, thank you for all the comments, all the likes, all the shares. Very much appreciated. No, there hasn't been any new content this week, and I know I promised it. I was up to my elbows doing accounts and tax this week for self-assessment. All done now. That's put to bed. Editing videos yesterday. There will be a video up Monday around about 3 o'clock based on my analytics audience figures. So next video will be up on Monday. So quick resume on if you're new to the live chats, how this all works. This is the video window. If you're on the mobile app, live chat window is directly below. If you're on desktop version, it's that way. You'll see the live chat window there. There is a rectangle at the bottom. That's your chat or comment box. Put your comment in, press send, and it'll appear here in my live chat. Next to that, you see emoji icon. Feel free to give that an absolute pummeling. The more emojis we get, the better the video does within the algorithm. So feel free to do that. Next to that, you're going to see a rectangle with a dollar symbol in it. It's called Super Chat. Allows you to make a contribution to the channel when I remember to press the go live button and we're actually delivering a live stream. How about that? Who would have guessed? If you want to help the channel financially, you can do so using that Super Chat option. You don't have to. The videos are free to watch. The whole channel is free to get involved in, but if you want to help me, help the channel, help the videos, Super Chat facility is there. Directly below the video window, you can see a row of icons. There's a thumbs up and a thumbs down. Please give the video a thumbs up. I can't sort of stress enough how important that thumbs up is. It drives how well a video does. It creates movement within the YouTube algorithm for the video and the channel. And generally, it's just a positive sign to YouTube that this video's making people happy. If you're going to give the video a thumbs down, please leave a comment. Let me know what you're not enjoying so I can make the videos better. Next to that, you're going to find a share arrow so you can share this video out to social media, email, and websites. Sharing any of the videos here on the channel is really helpful, really useful. So if you wish to do that, or you find something that you think, oh, that would be really useful in that bass group I follow on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, feel free to share the videos out. Next to that, you're going to find the save option, so you can save the video to watch later, and the bookmark option, so you can, again, save the video in your history, and you can come back to it at a later date if you wish to do so. There's also the YouTube shop icon, which allows you to buy Brooks's Bass Corner merch. We've got a t-shirt on today. So we do t-shirts, hoodies, sweatshirts, leisure wear, glasses, mugs, tankards, lunch boxes, phone cases, laptop bags, tote bag, just 170 pieces of merchandise across 15 different designs. Use that YouTube shop icon if you wish to do it through the YouTube platform. Alternatively, there are merch links for Brooks's Bass Corner merch in the description box below. On that row of icons, you'll also see a love heart with a dollar symbol in. That's called Super Thanks, which works exactly the same as Super Chat. Allows you to make a financial contribution to the channel. You don't have to. The videos are free to watch. But if you wish to help me, help the video, and help the channel, Super Thanks is there, and it exists on every single video here on the channel because we're a monetized channel. So then below the icons, you've got description box. In there, you're going to find timestamp links. So if you're watching this video after the event, you can jump between the topics that we talk about here on the video. Very easy, very simple to do. Means you don't have to watch the whole thing if I remember to press go live. There's actually a video and a live stream for you to watch. Then you've got affiliate links for the Bass Centre here in the UK. So if you're looking for any of their basses from the British Bassmasters series or the Bass Collection series, Bass Centre merch and Bass Centre Elite strings, there's affiliate links there. So if you buy anything through the Bass Centre, use those affiliate links and the channel will get a very small commission. Then there are affiliate links for Top Cashback, StreamYard, and vidIQ. And if you've got any bass related purchases, there are retailer links there for Amazon worldwide, Gear for Music, Andertons, and Thomann. So if you're looking to buy a bass, pedal, amp, speaker, accessories, gig bags, cleaning materials, anything to do with bass, if you find what you want on one of those retailers, by all means shop around, get the best price that works for you. If you use the links in the affiliate in the description box, click on those links, go through to the retailer, find the product you want, go through with the purchase, and then the channel will receive a very small affiliate commission, but all those small commissions become a bigger commission. And that's another way that we keep the channel running. After that, you're going to find social media links for Facebook, Instagram, Twitter X, BeReal, Reddit, Quora, Discord, and TikTok. I'm very aware TikTok could disappear for those of you in the US as of Monday. We'll see what happens. But there we go. So, done that recap. Right, let's talk about the pedal and how I led on to that. So, haven't seen you for a week. Last live chat was last Saturday. I went off to do a gig with Uncle Funk, of course. If you watched last week's live chat, you'll know as soon as we finished and I stopped, we were in the car and off. So there's a video regarding that gig is what's going up on Monday. So, did the sound check. Everything was great. Lights were fine. PA was fine. Everyone in the band's happy. No problems. All set up. All good. Someone in the band said to someone else, and I overheard it, "Oh, the bar isn't on." And we were assured by the people running this venue that it wouldn't be an issue. So we got our lighting, sound, but the bar's not turned on. It's not taking its hit of the electric. So we go to our change room. We have our pizza. We have a couple of drinks. We get ready. We go out at 9 o'clock. Start the show. And after 30 seconds, all the power went off. Just like, okay, right. We'll reset everything. Reset the lights. Reset the PA. We'll have another go. Did it again. Power went after 25 seconds. It's like, this ain't right. It was all okay at sound check. Nothing has changed. What has changed? Realised the bar is now turned on and all the stuff that's serving the fridges and the drinks and loads of lighting around the bar. It's not LED based, whereas our lights are. Go for the third go, and it did it again. We then had to run a whole load of power from the house, the main building, out to this marquee. And on the fourth go, we got it right. But what all those false starts allowed me to do was, when we were in sound check, I was using my GB Rumour, which is over there in the rack. And on the back of that, part of Bernie Goodfellow's genius is there's an indicator LED in the back cavity, control cavity, with a piece of clear plastic over it. It has an LED indicator in there, which tells you when the batteries are running low. So normally, when the batteries are fine, you plug your cable in and it will blink 3 times, bump, 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 and then it will go off. And eventually that LED just lights up every 10 seconds to tell you everything's fine. At the end of sound check, I checked it and it was like that. 10-second bursts, everything's fine. Haven't left the bass plugged in, goes back in its case. Come out to do the show, take the bass out, plug it in. And the LED's going blink, 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 which means the batteries are on their way. Band's already started counting in, and I'm thinking, well, I might get to the end of the first set, but I can't guarantee it. It might not, I don't know. Those batteries haven't been in all that long, but we'll see where we get to. Anyway, the false starts meant at one point, I think between the second and the third false start, that there was about 2 minutes where I was able to take the bass off. I wasn't going to get to the spare batteries, but my basses were propped up in their gig bags against a speaker stand and the sub that was kind of to my left and in front of me, but I couldn't get around there to get the basses out. So it allowed me to take the GB off, put it back on the stand, go around the PA speaker, pull out, I think I've grabbed the Alembic Persuader, did the first set with that, and then when we got to the break, I got 2 new 9-volt batteries, stuck them in the GB, and used that for the second set. But it was a little hair raising. I didn't know quite how I was going to get out of it, but there we are. Not to worry. Now, on last week's live chat, I mentioned I was actually in the race on eBay for Electro-Harmonix pitchfork pedal. Well, I won it. So we've got it here. And as I was telling myself not 20 minutes ago, when this live chat wasn't live at all, there was nothing happening. I was just talking to myself, and it was, I thought, well, okay, maybe we just haven't got the viewers. I could see Stacey and Gareth commenting, but I thought you were getting everything. I didn't know that you weren't. Anyway, that pitchfork pedal is here. So people who follow me here on the channel know I'm a big fan of Digitech Drop. Been using one since 2019. Been on my board ever since. Use it every gig. This pedal allows you to go up as well as down. Digitech Drop only goes down. This pitchfork goes up. Now I'm going to try and put this so when I get out of the view, it'll focus. So as you'll see, that shift control has numerous settings. So on the Digitech Drop, it goes down in semitones. This one doesn't work like that. So you've got a blend control here, which blends your dry signal with the affected wet signal. We have a latching facility here, which controls whether or not the effect is on, and then you turn it off again, or whether it's latching, which means you keep your foot on it, and the LED down there will light up until you take your foot off. So if you're only using it for a very spontaneous effect, you might as well use the latch rather than turn it on, turn it off. Get me out of the camera. There we go. So this is the mode switch. Has 3 modes. Pitch shifting down, dual mode, which means you get a pitch shift up and down, and up. Okay. Now, you're looking at the shift control thinking, none of that makes any sense to me. Right, I'm going to explain it to you because I've got the manual here. Thankfully, the guy I bought this from kept it in good condition. And we've got the manual, we've got the adapter, got the pedal, got the box. So let me go through the manual very quickly. Scott M, good to see you. You got breakfast with some friends now. Have fun with the live. Cool. We will catch you later on. We will no doubt still be here. Daisy and Gareth, honestly, if TT drops off the face of the earth, we may get part of our lives back. TT. TikTok, of course. So, manual for the pitchfork. So, it's a polyphonic pitch shifting harmony pedal. Now, clearly, anyone that's watched the Digitech drop pedal that I've done here on the channel, you'll have realized none of these pitch shifting pedals are bass specific. They're basically designed for all instruments, but they work better with the higher frequency instruments like guitars and keys. That doesn't mean they can't be used on bass, but the level of tracking, preciseness and clarity are affected because we're dealing with lower frequencies, and the tracking is the main selling point. If it doesn't track well, it isn't going to work. So let me try and break it down what that shift control is saying. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 settings. So the D setting is clarified as D tune. The small M2 is a minor second. And in a minute, when I finished saying what these settings are, I'll explain how it works. The capital M2 is a major second. Capital M3 is a major third. P4 is a perfect fourth. P5 is a perfect fifth. Capital M6 is a major sixth. Small m, lowercase, 7 is a minor seventh. Then you've got 1, 2, and 3. So 1 is 1 octave, 2 is 2 octaves, and 3 is 3 octaves. So how all this works is the mode switch, how you set that, so whether you're going down, up, or dual mode, will basically distinguish how that pedal is operating based on the shift control setting. So if you're playing a song in G and you select capital M2, it's going to shift that by a major second. So it'll either be 2 semitones down or 2 semitones up. So if I'm playing a song in G and I've got the mode switch going down, when it's set to capital M2, sorry, you can't see it 'cause I've got the banners up. Get myself out of the way. There we go. When you select capital M2, which is there, that's in down position. It's going to make it sound like an F. But if you've got it in dual mode or up, it's going to be playing an A. So that's how, what kind of led me to get this pedal was the fact that someone contacted me after watching my Digitech drop video and said, well, can you recommend a pedal that goes up, not just down? Because if I'm in a band and I need to play an A, but I've learned the song in G, I need it to go up, not down. So I did a little bit of research and shopping around, and this seemed like one of the best cost-effective ways to do it. So there we have it. So it's come through the door. I've plugged it in. It all works. Everything's fine and dandy with it. But I need to do a bit of experimentation, get used to all the different settings and how it works before I can start taking it out on gigs. So over the next week or so, expect a demo video, a review video, and possibly a comparison video as well. So I'll look at both of these pedals, and you'll be able to hear the differences, how they track, what's the bass tone like as a result. I had a friend round last night, and we were talking about a Digitech drop, and he was saying he can't really use it. He doesn't find it works for him. It's too squashy, too nondescript in terms of the bass tone, which I found kind of odd because I get a lot of mileage out of it and it works great for everything I want to use the Digitech drop for. But each to their own. So he's very interested to see how this works out. So keep watching the channel, and I'll try and give you as good a breakdown of it as I can. David Mill, good to see you. Hope you're well, wherever you are on the planet. Hope everyone's having a good Saturday. Sorry for the slightly rushed last 25 minutes. the first 25 minutes were gold. I couldn't tell you how good the first 25 minutes were. Sadly, none of you heard it or saw it. You're in Edinburgh. Excellent. Hope everything's well up there. A little cold, I would wager. It's freezing here in London today. There's a very cold northerly breeze. I walked both the dogs before the live chat and it was freezing. So I'm wrapping up warm before my gig tonight when I've got to go on the tube. But there we are. So, yes, the Pitchfork will be coming your way shortly. But plenty of new content. But this week got completely eaten up doing accounts and tax before the end of the self-assessment period this month. So, David Milne, you always felt the Digitech... put my teeth in, sorry. I always felt the Digitech drop pedal sounded too synthesized. Well, the thing is, and lots of people feel like this, it really does have a major effect what bass you use and how you EQ it. Because I've used that pedal since 2019. I've used it on Queen shows. I've used it on ABBA shows. I've used it with a disco show band playing every type of gig possible. I've used it on pub gigs. And granted, after about 3 semitones, it gets a bit, it's not great. But for 1, 2, or 3 semitones down, as far as I'm concerned, it does what it needs to do, and it does the job that I need it to do. I've never had a sound man or a member of the audience come up to me and go, "You were using the Digitech drop on that, weren't you? It sounded too flappy and synthesized." I've never had that. And in Uncle Funk, we play Relight My Fire in B, and I play it in a D position. So instead of playing B on the fingerboard, I'll play a D as the main root and key of that song. So I'm using the Digitech on that to do 3 semitones down. We're a 9-piece band. There's a lot going on. If that didn't sound right in the context of that band, someone after 4 years would have said to me, "It's not going to work. You're going to need to learn that in B." I did it when we first started running it, when we were in lockdown in rehearsal, I thought I was going to have to go over onto a 5-string, and I didn't want to do that for one song in the set. And I'd had the drop pedal for close to a year. And once we picked the key, because originally we were going to do it in C, and just felt it was a little too high for the male vocal, so we could just drop it down to B. But the thing is, it's the sort of bass line that's very positional. And if I didn't play it in D or C, the actual line doesn't make a lot of sense. You can play it, but it doesn't fit under the fingers like the regular pattern does. So for me, I thought, well, let's see. Tune it down 3, use the pedal down 3 semitones and just play it in D. And as a pattern for me, it makes complete sense. Across the strings, wherever you want to play it on the neck, it makes sense. And I'm not missing any lower notes. So I have no problems with the drop. Quite a lot of the Queen bands that I play with, Queen tributes, very few of the singers ever sing in concert pitch. So rather than change the keys of the songs, and any of us that play in Queen tributes, it's like with any tribute. Once you play in one of, like if you play in any tribute to a band or an artist, you'll find the other bands that do the same artist or band will come knocking. So you basically want to learn the songs as they were originally. And then if bands are doing key changes and what have you, use something like the drop to accommodate not having to relearn songs and tuning guitars up and down and up and down and up. So in one of the Queen bands I play in, we always play a semitone down. And in one of the other bands, I've been a tone down, maybe 3 semitones down. And all of it, both me and the guitarist in each of those bands, we both use drops. And I've never had anyone come up and complain at the tone. I accept that once you start going 2 semitones or more, you start losing a lot of top end. So if you've got songs that require slap, a lot of pop in, it's not going to sound that great. And it was the first thing I ever noticed using that pedal. It was like, whoa, where's all my top end gone? But for things like Queen that are all fingerstyle or pick based, I have no issues. And at the end of the day, the crowd wins every time. I've been down the road of being a musical snob and a tone snob, and oh, it's got to be right, and it's got to be this, and it's got to. At the end of the day, the people paying the money are the ones that count. And if they can't tell the difference and they don't know what you're doing, don't worry about it. I've spent years of my life worrying about things that audience members had no concept what was going on. And yeah, you know, in every Queen tribute, I wish we played all the songs in concert and all the Freddie singers could sing in his pitch, but very few of them can in his range, you know. So for me, the Digitech drop has been a godsend for 6 years, and I wish I'd had it 25, 30 years ago. It would have made my job so much easier over the years, especially where I've been in bands or on gigs where I've had to change pitch on the fly. Or, you know, for 17 years, I was in a band and we were tuned a semitone down to help the singer's voice. We're doing so many gigs, it just made things easier. If I'd had the Digitech drop, I wouldn't have had all the tuning issues that I had on wooden neck basses. But I could have used any of the basses I bought. In that period, in that band, I bought a lot of gear. And I would always try a new bass out in the band. And invariably, only about 3 or 4 cut the mustard, where they didn't react to being tuned up, tuned down, tuned up, tuned down. Some of my gig weeks, I could be in 2, 3, 4 different bands and a different tuning on every gig. And some bass necks just don't like it at all. So the drop would have saved me a whole load of grief. But here we are, starting to use the pitchfork. Let's see how it works. Gareth, got a gig locally with your acoustic trio tonight. Excellent stuff. Excellent stuff. Bill Derbyshire, that pitchfork pedal looks like something I could really use. I look forward to your demos. Cheers, Bill. I will get the demos of that up very quick. I'll be very pertinent with them. And I'll do the comparison video as well, because I've already got people going, I want to see that. I want to see that. And not every shop carries both the pedals. So people are like, well, I don't want to buy them and find out they're not going to do what I need them to do. So yes, I will get the pitchfork up as soon as I can. David Milne, interesting. I prefer using a short scale. Right, here's where one of your issues is going to come from. You prefer using a short scale, so maybe just the natural tubbiness of the bass. It will be because of the reduced speaking length of your strings isn't helping it. So I'm trying to think. Every gig I've done using the drop has been with a 34-inch scale bass. So for many of those gigs, it might have been a status bass. So, sorry, I'll try and explain. I've had a bit of a tidy up in the office, all right? And the past couple of days, I had an idea where I could accommodate more of the basses I've got instead of having tons and tons of gig bags. I've changed how I've got my basses here in my room. You can't see it at the moment. Let me take the banners off. We want that. Right, I'll show you. I won't normally do this, but I'll show you. I'm not convinced this is going to work, by the way. It could well change because it's made it harder to get certain basses out of the rack. I'll show you very quick, all right? How about that? There's a few basses there. Yeah. I'm not convinced with my racking system. I think I'm going to have to change it again. But anyway, back to the conversation. So for a good long while, I used status graphite basses. Still do. Very often. Probably going to use one tonight. Graphite doesn't move unless you heat it or freeze it. Okay. So the tracking using the Digitech drop, whenever I use a graphite neck bass, is immaculate up to 3-4 semitones down, then you start getting all the squashiness because you've got a 34-inch scale length. The speaking length of the string, you're getting all the resonances, the harmonics, the natural characteristics of the string and the sound as it vibrates. Once you start bringing a short scale bass into proceedings, you are reducing a lot of the transient top end frequencies by sheer nature of physics. You can't do anything about it. So if you're using a shorter scale bass with shorter strings, so a short scale bass, and then you say 32-inch scale. 32-inch scale is medium scale. 30.75 would be short. 30 is the general. So it's generally 34-inch, 32-inch, 30. But a 30.75 will be classified as short scale. You will get more of the rounded nature and character of the string, but you will lose a lot of that top end transient, the peaks, the glassiness, the higher frequency and resonance that you would get from that string. That is probably what's affecting the tracking when you're using a drop. I'm not saying it won't work, it will work, but the quality of the tone going in is already compromised. Whereas if you're using a 34-inch scale or a 35-inch scale, that clarity and presence within the tonal character of the string is what's defining the effect on the signal. That's the big deal. I'm not saying this like I'm stood on a soapbox. It's just natural physics, and I had this discussion many times in reviews and features when I wrote for Bass Guitar Magazine and Bass Player. And you'll get people email you and go, "Oh, well, I read your review, and I've whether it's an effects pedal or an amp," and then they'll say like that. I mean, we never reviewed the Digitech drop, and I'm annoyed because we could have done it. But you'd get people with octave pedals, and on the forums, people will say, "Oh, well, I've got this octave pedal. Oh, it's crap. It doesn't track." No, it does. Okay, it does. It just doesn't track perfectly for every single bass that's out there. So for a number of years, people had real problems using EBS octave pedals. Didn't matter which generation of pedal, whether it was the grey label, black label, blue label, green label, whichever. They would have issues. And what it was to do with each individual bass, the pickups, how you EQ it, or how you set the tone control, your string attack, what strings you're using, what type of string, whether it's round wound, whether it's steel, whether it's nickel, whether it's flat wound, half wound, pressure wound. All of those elements come into play when you start dealing with tracking of a bass signal. Because as I said, a lot of these pedals, when it comes to pitch shifting, are designed and created and manufactured to appeal to lots of instruments. They aren't bass specific, and trying to track bass signals effectively is really tricky, and every manufacturer has a problem with this. There's no simple solution, but one of the best things you can do is make sure your playing is really clean. Sometimes using a pick is better than using your fingers, but the more scale length you can throw in, the more projection a string has. And again, pickups, whether you're using the back pickup, the neck pickup, or a combination of both, all of those elements will contribute to how well a bass signal is tracked, and then how the pedal or the processor reacts to that and then adds the wet signal to the original dry signal. So, as you say, David, it is impractical, but it's what it is. So I went through 2 or 3 EBS octabass pedals when my old grey one started to cause me some problems back in the 2000s. And I would sit down with Bernie Goodfellow and go, "What is wrong with this pedal? Why doesn't it track?" He said, "Well, you're trying to do it with like 5 different basses. None of them sound the same. They all have their own inherent characteristics, but also you've got different strings, different gauges on all these basses. None of them are going to track the same. So the pedal is trying its best to take what you're putting in and then process it. But the signal you're putting in from each bass is totally different. And I found that some basses would work better with that pedal than others. Some strings would work better than others. Flat wounds would always give me a problem with an octaver. Yet a nice sparkly steel round wound, suddenly it would sit and you could play the note and the effect would stay and it wouldn't drop in and out and the tracking wouldn't go all over the place. So you learn these things. So sometimes people buy octave pedals, pitch shifters, harmonizers, and they just expect a 100% solution, which is what they've bought it for, to do certain songs or certain effects, and you can't guarantee it. And that's what happens with the Digitech drop. You're tracking low frequencies and processing them to go even lower. So that's where you start getting that synthetic thing. And actually, on some songs, I quite like it. I've used it to my benefit on things like Jamiroquai kind of songs or funk stuff, where you've got that whole envelope filter, chorusy, phaser kind of octave thing going on, and you can actually make use of that tone. I'll happily say that on my pedal board, I have an octave pedal, but I still use the octave effect within the Digitech drop because it is totally different sounding to the other octave pedals that I've got. But it works for me. It works for me. So, David Milne, if you do enjoy using short scale basses and medium scale basses, you've got to, well, with the Digitech drop, obviously it didn't work to how your ears wanted it to sound. You've either got to find a way around it or look for a different pedal. But you're always going to find with any of these that do this job similarly, it's tracking and processing. And I suspect, in my professional opinion, for what that's worth, I think a short scale, you're always going to struggle a bit. I don't know if in our lifetime we will get the technology that does it perfectly. We might. Let's hope we do. I've been playing bass 38 years this year. They still haven't sorted it. So it's better than it was. You know, octave pedals, pitch shifters are fabulous now compared to what they were in the 80s. But it's still not perfect. So you kind of have to take what they do and work within the parameters that they're offering, or it ain't going to work for you, I think. But let's see how the pitchfork goes. So I'll do a demo, I'll do a review, and I'll do a comparison video. I'll use a bunch of different basses and see how we go. Funnily enough, just occurred to me, the video that I did for the Digitech drop here on the channel, the straight out the box video, I did with a Kubicki Factor, which is medium scale. So the tones on there are representative of a medium scale bass with steel round wounds. I wonder if I should do another version of that video with a 34-inch scale. And some of the negative comments that I've had about the pedal might change if they heard it with a 34-inch scale bass. Let's see. It's an idea. I'm going to make a note of that. That could be one for next week. Cheers, everybody. Have a good weekend. Gareth Howson, would the drop pedal need to be used with rounds or would it work with flats? You can only try it, sir. You can only try it. I've not used it with flats. My preference is round wounds. I've got 3 basses with flats here, but they're not my regular gigging basses, so I haven't tested that, Gareth. It could work, but you again, flats are taking out that top end, and I find some people might find the opposite. But I know when I did this with Bernie, sat in his workshop in Brighton, the best reaction to a bass signal by an octave pedal always came when there was some top end there, not when I'd rolled all the top end off. It's almost like it needs like an upper mid or treble or presence to bring out the best of an octave pedal. Now that doesn't mean saturating it with tons of glassy top end and, you know, GB Rumor highs that'll take your fillings out and shatter glasses. but it needs some clarity in order for the effect to do the processing to its best capability. That's what I found. Now, you've got to bear in mind there are different manufacturers, different pedals, all of which sound different. And it could well be that the tracking works differently. I don't know. But it has always been an issue. And I'm sure if you went back on Bass Chat all the way to like 2007 or the previous incarnation, which I don't think you can get access to now, which was Bass World, you'll find loads of people there discussing octave pedals, EBS ones, Boss ones, Digitech ones, MXR, EHX, just pedals, you know, it's and rack mounts as well. So it's always worth bearing in mind if you're going to use pedals that are going to process and change your tone in that way, and they're tracking, so the signal that's going in is being tracked in order to produce the effect. How that differs from bass to bass. And I'm sure actually if I plug my Dingwall in, which is running a 37 to a 34 multi-scale, that might well bring out the best performance on any of my octave pedals, because you've got that level of clarity across the low B, E, and the A string. I think is it the longest? No, the low B will be the longest, but the actual speaking length of the string is longest in terms of going to the machine head that's furthest towards the end of the headstock. So, yeah, there we go. There's a video as well. You know, how does octave and pitch shifting tracking affected by scale length of a bass and the scale length of the strings and the speaking length of the strings. We're getting technical, but these things, people need to know these things. You know, it's there's a lot to be said for it, and I've seen many people buy or throw lots of money at getting the best octave pedals and then sell them. Go, oh, I can't get on with it. I can't. It could be the bass, it could be the strings, it could be the pickups, it could be the circuit, it could be the way they play, it could be the songs they're playing. And sometimes, you know, tracking can't keep up. If you're doing lots of repetitive notes, it might not track as well as you want it to, because the notes are becoming a blur. It's got to process each percussive attack on the string as well as the note that's then played. It's a lot of processing. Some are good, some not so good, some not so accurate. So it's a real can of worms. Sorry, we've been on that for about 20 minutes, but that's my findings. So I hope you're all safe and well. It's 3:10 here in London. We'll go through till about 5 o'clock or so. And like I say, I've got a gig in London tonight, so off out to Greek Street, round the corner from Charing Cross Road. Got a request show. Haven't seen the band for about 6 weeks, 7 weeks. So it'd be good to blow a few cobwebs away with that outfit. And yeah, should be good. Should be good. I have no idea what we're playing because it's a request show, so it could be anything. So yeah, actually, there's a couple of songs I just very quickly need to top and tail before I leave tonight. So, yeah, we will see. I'm sure Sir Duke by Stevie Wonder will come up tonight. It always does. And if anyone who's not aware, that is not for the faint of heart. So there's a few fills in there, and I don't play it. I only play it with this band, so need to refamiliarize myself with those runs. And last time I played it was, goodness, middle of November. So a little freshener coming Mr. Brooks's way. Hi Steffi, how you doing? How's the how are the bass lessons going? All good, I hope. All good. There we go. That's so I'm just checking the stream health now. Everything's up and running properly. couldn't believe I didn't press go live. Couldn't believe it. Stood there. I was stood there talking to myself, and the button in the top right hand corner said go live. It's showtime. It's like, no, I know it's showtime. We were going. There were no comments, and stream health was showing no views, which completely threw me. I was like, Anyway, Patrick Sweeney, good to see you. You've managed to find time to get on. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Patrick. Good to see you. Hope all is well with you. Hope the band are busy. Hope you're out playing. Gareth Harrison, that part that doubles the brass section. Exactly. Although we don't have a full brass section in that band. There's just a trumpet on this gig. Some weeks there isn't a trumpet. But this week there will be. Patrick, yes, Sir Duke is a staple. I get to play lots. Certainly helps with those runs. Yes. Yeah. Although last gig actually that I did with this lot, they didn't play it, but we were bombarded with requests that night for a lot of different things. And actually, there was a few. I just said, "There's no way I can play this. I don't even know the song." And so the guitarist didn't either. So we left the keyboard player to do it. But I think we've now got a band agreement that if we don't know it, we don't play it, because it's just going to cause a bit of a mess. And you don't really want that. You want people to carry on dancing and enjoy themselves, not have the band stumbling over a song they've got no idea how it goes. Even though the keyboard player is an encyclopedia of songs. I am to a degree, but if someone picks something I've never even heard of it, don't know the artist it's by, unless it's something relatively simple, it's just, I don't know it. I don't know it. No amount of chord shouting is going to make me know it. So there does come a point where you just got to hold your hands up and go, I just don't know it. So you can either play it on piano on your own, or you can play it as a band, but there won't be a bass line with it, sadly. I'll try and accommodate as much as I can, but there does come a point where I just don't know it. And we actually had one on the very first show that we did, which was at the start of November. Someone requested a song which I've heard a million times, and but I've never learnt it. I've never had to play it. I haven't heard it since it was in the charts, probably 11 years ago, 12 years ago. And the guy said, it's fine, I'll shout out the chords to you. And it was like, okay. But the problem was, if you didn't know, and there was like lots of offset bass accents, and it was like, I don't know it, I can't. And in the end, I just dropped out. After one run through of the verse and chorus, it was like, I don't know what this is. I can't learn a song by osmosis and touching your brain. It doesn't quite work like that. Patrick, sounds like our open mic and jam nights. Yeah, always seat of the pants stuff when you're the house band. I've done a lot of this before, and I've done Rocky Okie a million times, and. But the way I would do it, although it's not my band, it's not my outfit, is I would predominantly have a very large repertoire and stick to that, and hope that it covers the bulk of what people are going to request. But if the requests are flying in, then go with the ones you know. Don't make hard work for yourself. But if there aren't many requests coming in, then you just go with your set list. No one is going to know other than the person that's requested the song, and if none of you know it, you can't play it. So Gareth, you turned down a gig with a bandioki as I don't know enough material and don't fancy changing key on the spot if the person who gets up singing songs sings it in a different key. This is where the Digitech drop comes in, and the pitchfork, and. Had I had that on all the bandioki gigs I've done in my time, could have saved me a load of grief. But that sort of takes me neatly on to what I was going to have the chat, well, the main topic of the chat today. So if you come through from YouTube, this is what we were going to talk about. So well done, Gareth. You've led that onto that very nicely. What are the bass lines that every bassist should know? Now, I was thinking about this yesterday and this morning, and I could literally just stand here now and start rattling off songs for the next 2 hours. But that doesn't cover everything that people play and what I might think are the bass lines you should know. Someone else might go, nah, it's all moved on. It's all moved on. We do, there's more modern stuff now, which I don't generally play. I'm not in a covers band that's playing modern material. But I would suggest that from my 4,500 plus gig history, there are certain songs that I would suggest are very important for any, not just bass players, but musicians should know. And if you get these songs in your repertoire and under your belt, they will get you through many a situation. So if you're in a situation, you get up and play with a band and you don't know anyone in the band, if you say, I know this, I know that song, I know that song, you can get through. When I first started, when I first turned pro, and if I were able to turn the clock back now to say 1991 and I turned pro in 95, had I known then what I know now, I would have said to my younger self, you think you know loads of songs, but you know all the wrong songs. So I learned all the stuff I liked. Well, I can honestly say, other than maybe 6 or 7 times in all those 4,500 gigs, apart from 6 or 7 gigs, other than those 6 or 7, I've never played any Duran Duran stuff. So I learned loads of Duran Duran as a kid. I was learning John Taylor, not really thinking that no bands play Duran Duran unless they're Duran Duran tributes. And I did a gig about 3 years ago, and someone in that band decided to do Hungry Like the Wolf. And that was the first time I'd played any Duran Duran song for any band since 1996, when I did a couple of gigs for an 80s tribute. So all those Duran Duran songs I learned when I was 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 were completely useless when it came out to being in a gigging world. And you'd be on a pub gig and someone would say, play Brown Eyed Girl. And I didn't know it. I was like, well, I've heard of the song. I don't know how it goes. Now, having played it probably about 4,000 times, of course I know it. And it's that sort of thing. It's not just knowing standards. It's knowing bass lines that are uniform, that have, playing songs from the classic rock genre. Lots of them have similar patterns. There's plenty of songs that follow the same chord progression as Sweet Home Alabama. There's loads of songs that follow a DCG path. There's lots of that stuff. So it's knowing bass lines also to songs that are very, very familiar. So if you ended up having to stand in on a gig at short notice, have you got 30 songs in your repertoire that everyone in the audience is going to go, I know that song, I know that song, I know they're playing all the songs we know and like. Great. It's that, You can get into the technical thing and say, well, people need to know Rush. They need to know this. They need to know that. You will never get asked to play a Rush song if you're doing a covers gig. I think maybe I was asked once to do Spirit of Radio, maybe. And that was just within the band to keep themselves entertained because they were bored on the gig. It was nothing to do with the audience wanted it. It was to do with the band trying to entertain themselves. But, so yeah, let me know in the comments section, what are the bass lines that you think every bassist should know? Now I can rattle off a good 100 straight off the bat. So let me go. I'll rattle a few off. Let me know what you think. So if you're doing this and you want to earn a living, I would say having an understanding or an appreciation of these songs, knowing the format, Whether you choose to learn the line or not is up to you. But if you take anything away from this live chat with video, and if you write it all down and then go and learn these songs, I can guarantee at some point in the next 5 to 10 years, if you're gigging, you're going to play pretty much all of these in a covers band setting. These will come up. Right. Ready. Get your pens and papers at the ready. Right. So this is from my experience. So there isn't going to be a lot of stuff that's been out in the last 5 years, okay? So I would say, and some of these are dreadfully simple, but it's what people like. I don't create people's taste, okay? Right. Brown Eyed Girl by Van Morrison. Sex on Fire, Kings of Leon. Some of you could be going, oh, it's the same old song, but it's what works, okay? Kings of Leon, Sex on Fire. Mr. Brightside, The Killers. Somebody Told Me by The Killers. Living on a Prayer by Bon Jovi. It's My Life by Bon Jovi. Summer of 69 by Bryan Adams. Then there's an assortment of Rolling Stones songs, so any of Satisfaction, Honky Tonk Women, Jumping Jack Flash, Sympathy for the Devil, Start Me Up, Miss You. Any of those will get you down the line. Beatles stuff, where do you want to start? Come Together, Twist and Shout, Day Tripper, Saw Us Standing There, Hey Jude. It's like, you know, Taxman. 8 Days a Week. She Loves You. We could go, I could literally just say the whole Beatles back catalogue. Take your pick. Led Zeppelin, Whole Lot of Love. Stairway to Heaven. Rock and Roll. And on and on and on. You know, how many Led Zeppelin songs do you want to go for? When it comes to the big bands, the classic bands, having a copy or a playlist of their greatest hits is a real godsend. So ABBA, you know, ABBA, Beatles, Led Zeppelin, Rolling Stones, Queen, The Who. Those sort of bands, usually bands that have been around for, you know, 30, 40, 50, 60 years. ABBA tunes, right. Where do you want to go? Dancing Queen, Waterloo, Mamma Mia, Does Your Mother Know? Gimme, Gimme, Gimme. The amount of songs I do that use a bit of Gimme, 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 and then they don't play that song. Take a Chance. It's like all of that. I mean, we did in that request show a couple of weeks ago, we got asked for Money, Money, Money. Well, it just so happens I play in an ABBA tribute, so we rolled that one out very quickly. Right, back into the regular stuff. Let me call up my old song list. Hold on. Toto, Hold the Line. Rosanna, Africa. God, I'm a huge Toto fan. I've played it in a band once. All of a sudden, people are asking for it all the time. All the time. Now, where have I put that? That is there. Let me run through. Here we are. Song list. Here we go. Oh, God. The eyes aren't what they were. Build Me Up Buttercup by the Foundations. Take your pick on Elvis Presley. There's tons of it. Too Good to Be True. There's many versions of that. Andy Williams is the one I've always done, but some people do the Frankie Valli version. How Much Soul Are You Willing to Take? So you're looking at Dance in the Street, anything by Motown, Stax, Soul Man, Shake Your Tail Feather, Hard to Handle, any Stevie Wonder. So you're looking at Superstition, you're looking at Signed, Sealed, Delivered, Living for the City, Sir Duke, I Wish. There's just tons of that. Things like the Monkees, Daydream Believer, I'm a Believer, Last Train to Clarksville, you know, all of these songs. Hi-Ho Silver Lining, Jeff Beck, cheesy as hell, but sometimes exactly the right song for the event, you know. Midnight Hour, Wilson Pickett, It's Not Unusual, Tom Jones, the old classic, People Are Gonna Groan, Mustang Sally, because it's just so simple, really. Don't slap it, though. I know bass players who've gone to a pub gig, done Mustang Sally and slapped it. Don't be that person, please. Sweet Caroline, Neil Diamond. American Pie, Don McLean. Brick in the Wall, Pink Floyd. Let's see what else. Getting the disco tunes that I do with Uncle Funk. Some work, some don't. Car Wash, it's fairly simple. Put that in. You can't really always do Earth, Wind and Fire stuff unless you've got the band line up and the tracks to do it. But something like September you can do, maybe without the horns or if the keyboard player's going to do it. Hotel California, Eagles stuff is always very good if you can get the harmonies together. Long Train Running, Doobie Brothers. Maggie May, Rod Stewart. Hot Legs by Rod Stewart. No Woman, No Cry, Bob Marley. Actually, there's quite a lot of Bob Marley you can throw in, essential bass lines there. Play It Funky Music, Wild Cherry. Stuck in the Middle with You, Steelers Wheel. I've said Sweet Home Alabama. Whiskey in the Jar, Thin Lizzy. Boys Are Back in Town, although that can be a little complicated and everyone has to be on the case if you're going to do Boys Are Back in Town because there's some chord changes in there, and I've done it where I've learned it correctly and the guitarist has played it wrong, and you get the old that's not it. But yeah. First Last Everything, Barry White. That's a bass line you should know. 500 Miles, Proclaimers. Billie Jean, Michael Jackson. There's a couple of U2 numbers. Desire's good. One. Still haven't found what I'm looking for. Streets Have No Name. I'm trying to remember what that song is. God, I can't remember the name of it. Is it Elevation? It's not Elevation. It's come to me in a moment. Everybody Needs Somebody, Blues Brothers. Footloose, Nathan East favourite. I Love Rock and Roll, Joan Jett. Let's have a look. Should I Stay or Should I Go? The Clash. Town Called Malice by The Jam. So I'm taking it from a UK perspective here. A lot of you guys in the States will be going, what the hell's all these songs? Big hits is always the way to go. So I've done gigs abroad with bands where we've been playing and you don't know what the audience is you're going to play to. That's where you pick big hits by big artists. And once you're there, you can kind of sift through what the local DJ might play or DJ in the venue, or there might be a current hit that's doing the rounds and manager in the venue might say, oh, can you do that? Can you do that? I'm just going for the sort of the world hits here. But if there's a few things that are British and you're going, I don't know what he's talking about here, some of these could fall into that category. Walking on Sunshine, Katrina Waves. Call Me Al, Paul Simon, and bass solo. Angels, Robbie Williams. And you got all your Oasis necessities, especially here in the UK. So you're looking at the big hitters there. So Don't Look Back in Anger, Wonderwall, Rock and Roll Star, Live Forever. There's loads actually in the Oasis catalogue. So Losing My Religion by REM, that comes in handy now and again. Some Crowded House if you're doing some Australian or South African or New Zealand bars. Um, Don't Stop Believing by Journey. Huge hit. Forget You, CeeLo Green. Get Lucky, of course, Daft Punk. Hey Ya by Outkast. I Got a Feeling, Black Eyed Peas. Uh, Uptown Funk, Bruno Mars. Some Adele. That goes down very well. A selection of Irish stuff, if you're doing an Irish bar or Irish venues. Valerie, Amy Winehouse, Mark Ronson. Some Coldplay, if that's your thing. I've managed always to only have to do Yellow. I've not done a huge amount of Coldplay, even though I did actually audition for a Coldplay tribute. I now look back on that and thought, what the hell were you doing? That was just, it was a year when I didn't have a lot of work on, and I was looking for work, and I thought, that seems like a very busy band. I'm not necessarily sure the material is what I want to do, but sometimes needs must. And then COVID hit, and I didn't get the gig, thankfully. And I look back and think, you would have jumped ship from that very quickly. It wouldn't have worked. Not for me. Not for me. And you can tell I'm not a Coldplay fan, but yeah. You've had to Patrick. Oh, here we go. Gareth Harrison, I play Summer 69 in drop D. Okay. Patrick Sweeney, we have to ban Mr. Brightside at open mics. But the thing is, it's one of those songs where you could probably play it 10 times. I know we used to get Valerie like requested over and over and over and over again. Every female in the audience wanted to sing Valerie. And we could have just done that like 10 times. So here's another song you heard not 20 seconds ago with a different singer. Gareth, being from Manchester, I get a lot of Oasis requests. I hear you. I bet you do. Get a lot of Oasis requests anytime you do a covers gig. Always. Joe Goose, I can see you there. Hope you're well. Hope everything's good. Patrick Sweeney, modern bass lines. We seem to find things like Uptown Funk, yeah. About Damn Time, Lizzo, yeah. Espresso, Sabrina Carpenter. See, that's not on my radar because I'm becoming that old fart, and Sabrina Carpenter is the youngster on the block. So because I'm not playing in a covers band, I don't tend to do that sort of stuff. Chapel Rowan. I don't know what you're talking about. You're ahead of me, Patrick. Dua Lipa, yeah. A 5-string or a range X. I guess you're saying extended range bass. Yeah. Joe Goose. Bassline everyone should know. All the Mark King slap licks. Well, again, now I said this on a before Christmas on a live chat. The amount of time I spent learning level 42 stuff, you want that playing in your vocabulary. Billy Sheehan stuff, technical stuff like Stu Ham and what have you, back in the 90s. Spent hours at university on when I had time off, learning all that stuff, getting all the technical side of my playing together, which wasn't wasted. But in all that time, I've done so little slapping, so little technical playing in all the gigs I've done. A lot of that stuff, I look back now with hindsight, and I can look at it and go, great that you got it under your fingers, and great that you had it in your playing arsenal, but you've never used it. Really. So I've done so little slapping on gigs. It's crazy. Occasionally you might end up with something, or in a band where you get to do a bit of it, but unless you're in a band that does a lot of it, it's a bit of a blind alley. You think it's what you've got to do, and it's not. It really isn't. And to be honest, all the slap stuff I've ever done on gigs, I could have done it all without ever hearing a Mark King level 42 bass line. The only technical thing would have been the Call Me Out. But everything else I probably could have done without having spent months of my life learning all the level 42 back catalogue. And it's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy because all of that stuff has filtered into my playing in one respect or another. But unless you're in a band that plays that sort of stuff, and in which case you're probably playing for your own enjoyment, not necessarily earning money, because I have never, on a covers gig, yeah, on any covers, I've never played a level 42 song other than when, for a very brief period, I was in a level 42 tribute band and we gigged once. Once. We did 2 years of rehearsing. We did one gig, at which point I said, I'm off. Um, it was taking up too much time and it was starting to clash with other things I was doing band wise. And I couldn't see where it was going to go. It just seemed like we were rehearsing for the sake of it. And lovely to get in a studio and play with other musicians, of course, but when it starts to become like a once every month, and each month we're no further on than we were the month before because people weren't practicing enough at home. But other than that, I've not played any Mark King bass lines for anything. Never. Because people go to see level 42 to see level 42. They don't generally want to go and see another band do it. And to be fair, level 42 haven't had any hits for the best part of 30 years. So those things don't crop up in your set list. Now you might occasionally get asked to do something about you, maybe, or Lessons in Love. But during my gigging heyday through the 90s, 2000s and 2010s, that would never come up. Level 42 stuff never gets used for adverts or advertising, so it doesn't really go into the public consciousness. And same with Duran Duran stuff. You know, they've never had tunes that have been used on adverts or anything, certainly not here in the UK. And so it doesn't seep into the general public consciousness as generations change and new generations go out and find venues and go and see the bands that are playing at those venues. You don't get people asking for that in your repertoire. Just don't. But there we go. There we go. So if you've got any suggestions for the bass lines that every bass player should know, I don't think that's actually quite how I titled it, was it? No, bass lines every it is. Bass lines every bassist should know. Let me know. Let me know your ideas. I mean, I could go on with the suggestions, but we could be here a long time. But I think what I listed out there, you know, there is easily a good 30 songs there that if you pulled those together would get you out. If you were a beginner, if you got those bass lines under your fingers, you could go out and you could do a gig. And it would be a pretty reasonable set. You know, it wouldn't all just be one thing. You'd have a good range of material. But yeah. So here we are. It's 20 to 4 here in London town, here in the UK. This is Live Chat 96 here on Brooks's Bass Corner. Hope you're all safe and well out there. So we're here on Saturdays now, of course. Let me just check what we're doing next week. Let's have a look. We are next week. Live Chat is 2 till 6 again, so that's all good. And the week after, we are doing 12 till 2:30. I've got a gig to go to straight after the live chat, so we're on slightly earlier than that. So next week 2 till 6, and the week after, which is Live Chat 98, creeping towards Live Chat 100, we'll be on from 12 at the earlier time. So there we have it. So Joe Goose, what's happening in your world, sir? Patrick Sweeney, you've been doing songs by Ray. Okay. How have they been going? She's very popular. But you see, it's like, I don't pay any attention to the charts anymore. I don't generally listen to music radio. I listen to sport-based radio. So I don't know what's big. What's big with the kids? You know, I used to do when we used to do the London clubs with the old covers band. I was exposed to what the DJ was playing 3 nights a week. So you'd hear all the new tunes, the big hitters, what's coming through, and you'd see what worked with the audience. And actually, in our old covers band, many of the songs that got embroiled into the band set were taken from sitting on the stage during a break between sets and watching and listening to what the DJ was playing and what the audience were reacting to. And certainly when it came to pulling in, so in the 2000s, pulling in songs from the 80s and 90s, songs that you remember from the time, but you didn't know had struck a chord with people. And then DJ might play it and you go, oh, we need to do that. We need to start incorporating that into the set. And that happened many times. I remember we had like a little suggestions notebook that one of us used to have. Can't remember who did it. And we just sit and make notes on gigs as to what songs are going down well and what ones weren't. We then rehearse them up, bring them into the live show, and you'd play them maybe 4 or 5 times. And if they worked, they stayed. And if they didn't work, they got jettisoned. And yeah, we found some, certainly in some of the like Aussie venues, the South African venues, songs that we wouldn't have known in the charts over here, but they were very big in the Southern Hemisphere. You know, it was a bit of an education in that respect. And there would be some songs you just couldn't use in other venues because Brits would go, what the hell's this? But in the Southern Hemisphere venues, it would take the roof off the place. But there we go. Joe Goose, you've got your first gig booked for this year in February. Excellent. In Stevenage, your brother's blues trio. Excellent. So headless status for that then. Slap the whole way through. I hope. I'm pulling your leg. You know what I'm saying. Patrick Sweeney, they do go down well. These are the songs by Ray, because there is a young audience at a lot of our gigs. I hear. But this is it, you see. I used to listen to music radio all the time, and just over time, that's changed. And I know we got, I always refer back to the old covers band, but that's my experience. When we got into like 2014, 2015, we were left kind of scratching our heads going, where are the next hits coming from? Because we weren't hearing it. And occasionally you get something big like Justin Timberlake or some of the dance things that came along. You know, Get Lucky was one. Actually, 2013 was good. There was a lot of pop dance stuff that we were able to incorporate because we had really good backing tracks. But the guitar-based stuff was thinning out. And I don't think after Sex on Fire and some of the Killers stuff, we had any guitar-based stuff. So again, when the charts were dry of stuff that you could use, you'd go back and try and find old classics that you hadn't done and see if they would work. Sometimes they would, sometimes they wouldn't. What we would do is rather than just pick one song and hope for the best, we'd try and create try and do a medley even, which might incorporate an old song, a newer song, and then something that was current. And that kind of worked quite well. Joe Goose will be either the JD or a Yamaha TRB. I'd say go for the Yamaha, mate. I think that's because you'll have some punchy MIDI cue on that bass that will cut through if you need it. I would say. The JD might just have too many connotations. If you took it out on a blues gig, you might get a bit of blowback, if you know what I mean. I would wager. Might have to buy a new bass cab or amp head, as I've only got a GK200 with a Bareface 110. Well, you want to find out if there's any monitoring. If you're providing the PA, which maybe you are, or your brother's band is, you need to do a bit of homework on how big the venue is. Because if it's not that big, you could probably take an XLR out of a preamp pedal, or even just go direct into the PA and use ears. But if it's a bigger place, you may well need a cab, just so that you can hear it, but also projection. I mean, this was the thing when we used to do venues. Once you've done it once, you know what's required, but sometimes you could turn up the new venue. I always had a 4x10 and a 350 watt amp, so I was fine. But you'd look at it and go, oh, we're a bit underpowered. We haven't got enough PA. I guess you need to have a chat with your brother, mate. Your brother plays very loud. Okay. It sounds to me it's that sort of gig where, are you providing the PA? In which case, unless you've got foldback, you're not going to hear anything. So yes, you're going to need a cab and an amp to get you through. Maybe buy something on eBay cheap for those sort of gigs, unless you're going to be a bit of a gear snob. But you could get a Hartkey cheap, or an Ashdown, or Trace maybe, or Peavey, and not spend a hell of a lot of money. But it's reliability, isn't it? So okay, Gareth, I'm using my Gretsch Duo Jet with flats tonight and my Jack Cassidy as backup. Excellent stuff. Excellent stuff. Particularly like that clip you sent me, Gareth. There's very good bass tone on there. And your Mark bass, little Mark III with a Mark bass 210. Yeah, Joe, you might want to consider getting a 210, because that will get you through pub gigs without having to have like a bigger cab. It won't be perfect. It won't be ideal. You won't get loads of bottom end, but you'll get enough projection that if it's a medium-sized gig, that will get you through, and it's not too cumbersome to carry. Otherwise, you're going to then be looking at 212s plus. So for me, a gigging setup, if it's not acoustic or a small, intimate place that's not that loud, if you need a bit of heft, you're going to be looking at a 212 probably as a minimum. You liked those old Eden heads and cabs. Yeah, you don't see them very often, though. I don't. I mean, whenever I'm looking online at stuff, I don't see a lot of that old Eden stuff. I don't know where it's all gone. I think Mark King played them briefly. He was borrowing it from Bernie. Bernie sourced that rig for him. Mr. King was between rigs at that point, and he only used it for that one tour. I don't know where Bernie sourced it from. Bernie hadn't gone down the EBS route at that point. He wasn't the UK distributor. That came a year or two later. Gareth Harrison, I do have a Mark bass 410 for larger gigs. Excellent. Sometimes you need that extra heft, but having a 410 and a 210 is always a very good thing in my book. And I've done gigs where having the extra 210 on top of the 4 has just provided enough welly to do the gig and keep the audience happy, and the 210 giving me enough clarity and punch that I can actually hear what I'm doing. And it's amazing how sometimes you could do 10 gigs and have a 4x10 just on stage. And some gigs you can hear everything perfectly, and other gigs, nothing. Or you're struggling to hear any sort of bass, sort of being able to distinguish what you're actually playing. It's a bizarre thing. Joe, what are your thoughts on Ashdown, and why did Mark King stop using them? I love Mark Gooday. Love Dan Gooday. Hello, chaps. You won't be watching this. They don't watch my live chats, but love those two guys. Love the Ashdown brand. Love the company. Just never been a fan of the tone. Just a personal preference. I just never liked the tone. And for me, there's always been a problem because there's the stuff that's made in the UK, which is fab. And then there's the stuff that's made in China on a budget. And there are reliability issues. And over the years, there have been numerous heating and, again, reliability and breakdown issues. But for me, the main thing has always been the tone. It just and I have a Superfly. You can see it over my shoulder there. I've got an Ashdown Superfly there, which I loved everything about it. But the one thing on it was it lacked real high-end treble for slapping. I always found I was always pushing. Well, I always had the treble end on full whack, and it was always not enough when I was using the GBs with them. But Ashdown gear isn't built to be that sort of techie, glassy, trebly thing. It's about oomph and power and, you know, battering ram sort of tone. And that's fine if that's what you want. Wasn't for me. But I've no problems with the guys. I've got my camera here. The tripod is resting on top of the Ashdown Tone Pocket headphone preamp, which I need to get round to doing the videos on that, which I love. I love that thing. So yeah, why did Mark King stop using them? So he had the King 810s, and then the tour after that. So that was, he started using the GBs halfway through that tour. Following tour in about 89, 99. So the first tour was 98 into early part of 99. Second tour was 99, so he was using Ashdown. Third tour was in 2000. Not really a tour, but he was doing a run of dates at Jazz Cafe and some European shows. And in 2000, he moved over from the Spitfires to the Rumor. And at the time, the Rumor and the Spitfire had two separate different circuits. He started using the Rumors. And obviously he already had been using the Spitfires, but decided for whatever reason that he wanted a different tone, more clarity that worked with the GBs, as opposed to when he was using the Fenders when he first started touring, when he came back out in 98, 99. So I don't know what the story is as to why he was using the Eden stuff, but I do know that was sourced through Bernie. So maybe Bernie saw the Eden stuff as being the best vehicle for showcasing his basses. So that was that. The following tour after that, which would have been 2001, Mark had moved over onto the King basses. And he had decided that he wanted more of an 80s bass tone. So got the guys at Trace Elliott to build him a new version of his old amps, which is what you see on the Live at Reading DVD. And then there was talk after that he might start using EBS because of his thing with Bernie. But I think there'd been a bit of a disagreement there. And for whatever reason, I don't know, Mark wasn't looking at EBS as far as I know. He may have done, I don't know. I'm not aware that he tested any gear. I know Bernie didn't send him any. But then Ashdown came out with the Bentley stuff. I think they were slightly angled cabs maybe. And Mark started using Superfly heads. Oh no, it would have been the Ashdown Trace, the red 12-band graphic and what have you. So they designed that for him. So that was more like what he had with Trace, but it was now under the Ashdown brand. And then he started using a bunch of Superflies when they first came out. But he had the same problem that a lot of us that bought Superflies had, was that they went wrong occasionally, and they overheated. They had a tendency to overheat, and I don't know if he used them past that one tour. That might have been the Retroglide tour, I think, because Superflies came out in 2005, 2006. And then after that, he was on Ashdowns up until 2010, 2011, I think. And then obviously the King basses were going through various iterations, so different sounds, different pickups, went to the single coils, more snappier sound, blah, blah, blah. And then he got approached by TC Electronic, and he'd been using TC Electronic since about 88, Staring at Sun time. Alan Murphy turned him on to that stuff. And obviously there was an endorsement deal as well, so a bit of money in the pocket. And that's why he went to TC and stayed with that until they was sold to Behringer. And then Mark Bass came knocking, and there you go. And also, I think they were doing so many gigs in Europe. There was Mark Bass gear being supplied on a lot of the gigs. And I don't know what the path of communication was there. Either Mark Bass contacted Mark or he went to them. I don't know. But that was that, as far as I know. Gareth Harrison never got on with Ashdown gear for some reason. Yeah, some people do. Some people love it, and other people don't. I find the people that really do get on with it and love it have UK-based gear, the stuff that was made here, as opposed to the Chinese stuff, the imported stuff. But the other thing for me with Ashdown is there's so much of it. Like they come, and they're to be applauded, you know, innovation, new products all the time. But it's like they bring a range out, it's there for like a year, and then it's gone. So if you get particularly tight, Martin Fay, good to see you. If you get a product of theirs and you really like it, you would want there to be an availability of that gear as long as possible going forward. So if you had one and it blew up or it broke down or whatever, you could get another one. Basically, if you've bought anything in the last whatever time period and you really liked it, unless it's one of their flagship products like the Evos or Root Masters, or you're going to have to buy second hand. There aren't any, you know, the older stuff, the discontinued stuff, you can't buy new. Although I say that, and occasionally they do have stock of stuff that didn't sell, stuff that's been returned from retail, and then they'll say on their website, "Oh, we've got one of these in a box. You can sell it at half price." So sometimes that happens. But on the one hand, I applaud the amount of gear they produce and the ideas they bring to market and what have you. But there's so much of it. I find it, even as a reviewer and the guy that worked at the magazine, I could never keep up with what they were launching. I always felt like I was being bamboozled with the stuff. And you know, it all does very well. Very good company. Love the guys. I've got a lot of time for Mark and Dan. But yeah, just for me, the amps just generally haven't floated my boat. Some of it could be that, you know, I only get to test these things in shops, and when we had stuff through for review, the valve heads were always fabulous. But that wasn't my tone. That wasn't my sound. So it didn't really, you know, I didn't jump off my seat. Oh, I've got to buy that. And I just, my tone isn't based around what the likes of, you know, Adam Clayton and the guy from Biffy Clyro and Nate Mendel, and what they want from a bass tone isn't necessarily what I want. And when Ashdown came out, I was a Hartkey user. Then I moved to EBS, and then I moved to Aguilar. And I'm fairly, I'd say, loyal with the brands that I use. You know, I stick with stuff for 10 years or more. So I had Hartke for 10 years. I had EBS, and I've still got all my EBS gear. I had EBS from 2002 till 2018. And then I bought Aguilar in 2018. So I'm 7 years in on that. So, but it's horses for courses. You know, I've done gigs where Ashdown stuff's been hired in. Sometimes it's been really, really good. And sometimes it's been not so good. But that's, again, this is the thing of, if you've got amplification being made in 2 or 3 different locations, what are you going to get? So there's no consistency there. Martin, I love my Ashdown head, but yeah, it's a UK hand-built Geezer Butler head of doom. That is probably going to sound immense and utterly fabulous, but that's not a Chinese, you know, Chinese-made Rootmaster or whatever. But it is what it is. But there is a consistency of tone that Ashdown products tend to have in terms of amplification. For me, that's not the sound I want, but, you know, they're obviously doing something right. They've been going nearly 30 years, so long may it continue. A Geezer is another JD player. Yeah, absolutely. Let's have a look. Just check everything is running as it should be. Looks to be. Thank you to all the new subscribers in the past week. Good to have you on board. Thank you for getting on board. It's good to have you. Hope you find some content of interest here on the channel. Health, stream health. Excellent. Good. Excellent. Good. So, yeah. Well, happy shopping, Joe. But if I were you, I would go on Google and quickly check out photos of the place you're going to be playing and see if it has a photo of the room or part of the venue that you're going to be performing in. And that'll give you an idea of height of ceiling, width of room, length of room. And from that, you can work out what you're going to need. So if you're just playing in a bar, like in front of the bar, and there's people all around you, then you probably don't need anything too powerful or big. But if you're playing in a particular like music room, which a lot of venues used to have bolted onto either the back or the side, or if you're going to be on a stage up above people, then you're going to need something with a bit of clout. So yeah, doing your research on these venues. I do it all the time with Uncle Funk, especially when we're doing private dues that aren't festivals. It's I'll do a search on Google and try and find where it is we're playing, and then have a look at the supplied photos, and I can work out. Well, for Uncle Funk it's different because I'm not taking backline, but at least I get an idea of how much space, how much width we've got, and that can help me decide which basses I'm taking. So yeah. So how's Martin Fay over in Dublin? Everything good? Everything ticking over? Anyone on here going to NAMM next week, I think, isn't it? I see various UK retailers and distributors gearing up for their stands. Gareth Harrison, JD used to be a roadie for safety and built Tony Iommi's main guitar. Yes, he did. Joe, what is a nice sound, EBS or Aguilar? Both, but they're different. Aguilar is a lot more expensive. EBS, well, if you want a rig on a budget, there are Reedmar amps, EBS Reedmars, going for £300 or less. Some second-hand, shop around, you might get one new. If you could get a Reedmar and a 2x12 Neo EBS cab, which I've seen 2x12 Neo cabs going for £300 recently. If you can get that head and that cab for 600 quid, that will cover virtually every gig you will need to do. I promise you. I have that set. Well, I don't have the Reedmar, but I have various Class D amps, and I've done gigs with that 2x12 Neo, and even just a GK MB200, which is 200 watts, big rooms, 3-piece band, lots of guitar and drum noise, and that cut through like crazy. So if you buy good gear, and EBS is not fashionable, it's not flavor of the month, so there's lots of people who've shifted that gear on, and it's just sat there. You know, go on the Bass Chat, there's always some EBS gear on the go. Aguilar, you might get a good deal, but you're going to find it's pricey. So anyone that's bought Aguilar is generally looking to try and recoup as much as they can. I suspect you won't get an SL cab 212 or a 210 or a 410. I know that, there's a 410 SL on Bass Chat. Laurie McMillan is selling the 4x10 SL, 750 quid, but it's how much you want to spend, mate. If this is going to be a regular gig and you're going to earn a fair bit of money from it, then worth buying something nice and getting the most out of it. But yeah, otherwise I might have to open up Brooks's amplification rental business. Start hiring out some of this stuff. Used to be a roadie for Sabbath. Right, got it. I wonder what you meant there, Gareth. Very good. Martin, you're still above ground. Correct. Enjoy it while you can. Just going to grab a quick drink here. Must remember on next week's live chat, press the go live button at 2 o'clock. Can't believe I did that. Crazy. Patrick Sweeney, I have, like yourself, have many bass rigs. I love Aguilar, but we again, like yourself, are playing a lot of silent stages. It's just the way it's all gone. It's the way it's all gone. Following on from last week's talk on IEMs, I've now started using my stage IEMs plugged into my audio interface when I'm doing work on my PC. Instead of using my larger Sennheiser headphones, I'm now using my IEMs. And I'm actually loving it. So people have seen these often. So these are the KZZS10s, available on Amazon and assorted other outlets. So I use these now. If I'm working on my PC or need to listen in on something. So instead of a regular larger set of headphones, I'm using these. And it works fine. They sound great. They can be yours for, between, what was the price last week? £38 and £45 here in the UK. Available in the US at about $48, I think. Swear by these. These are my gig IEMs. Sound great. Jeffrey Boyle, good to see you. Gareth Harrison, love my Mark bass gear, but some don't. Before that, I was using Hartkey. Okay, yeah. Some people love Mark bass gear. Some people don't. I think what is affecting the perception of Mark bass gear currently is the fact that there's so much and so many Class D amps. And the problem is they've now been around for, 15 years or whatever. And they're going wrong. And people can't have them repaired. Because if you go to a Mark bass repair centre, they will tell you how much it's going to cost. And the repair bill is more than buying a new one. And it's basically built-in obsolescence. Mark Bass want you to buy a new amp. And this is why they keep producing newer and newer amps and ranges, and suddenly there's another 3 new models. This is how they keep their business model moving. So the amps that they produced 10 years ago have gone. They've been phased out. All the new gear is what's available. But if your amp goes wrong and you bought it 8 years ago, chances are that amp isn't available now. So your option is either to buy a second-hand one, or you've got to buy one from their newer ranges. And I think that's starting to affect perception of the Mark Bass brand. I could be wrong. But it would annoy me if I bought into a company that they know within 3, 4, 5 years that that amp's going to break down, but they're not going to fix it. Now, okay, you could argue, well, the price of the amps is probably low enough that a 3, 4, 500 pound hit every 4 to 5 years, if you're a gigging musician, isn't a huge amount of money. But that, again, it's your money, it's your choice. What are you buying into? Whereas I don't. Well, actually, no, my AG700 is Class D, and yes, it wasn't cheap, but it's been exceptionally reliable. I've had it for 6 years, but it's not getting a tonking like my old amps used to, because I'm not doing 200 plus gigs a year. I'm not going gig to gig to gig to a lot of my gigs. I'm on IEMs. I'm not using amplification. So yeah. Joe Goose, are your Aguilar amps D class? Yeah, the AG700 is. I don't use the Tone Hammer amp. I use the Tone Hammer pedal, which is basically the same as the Tone Hammer amp, but without the power section. And I've got a DB751, which is Class AB, I think. My DB751 hasn't been out of the house for a while, a good long while. AG700 is the amp I take generally. But if I'm doing a Queen gig and I know we're going to be on a big sort of theatre stage, I'll take 2 cabs and take the DB751 and give it a bit of an unleash. It needs it occasionally. Let those valves do their thing. But it's a lovely sounding amp, and there's something very guttural about standing in front of 2 SL212s and a DB751 playing precision with a pick. I can highly recommend it. Patrick Sweeney, an awful lot of our wedding and corporate gigs are silent stages. That's because the wedding venues insist on it, which means less gear to carry around, plus, in my book, even though I prefer the sound and feel of a bass rig. I agree. On a rare pub gig, I use a rig. Yeah, I do. Although I have to say, with Uncle Fart, I'm very happy that I don't have to carry amps and cabs around anymore. I did it for a while, but I quite like, at the end of the night, take my bass off, pack the basses away, put my pedal board back in its box, put the cable in, hand the wireless set back to the sound man, in-ears go in the little pouch, and off we go. That's it. That's my pack up, which is significantly reduced to what it used to be. And I haven't got to carry cabs and amps in and out of venues, which makes me very happy. Joe Goose, I remember your story about having a spare trace amp in your pocket as a backup head. That's always in there in case my tone hammer goes down. The Elf is always in my gig case, regardless. So if my tone hammer pedal goes down, I can hook up the Elf and run a DI out of that if I have to. Does that mean the most important thing for sound and volume is a decent sized cab? Well, it depends what sort of band you're playing in. So when I was gigging, take it back to when I started, right? So 95, I was playing loads of different gigs, loads of different venues. I needed reliability and I needed power. So for me, a minimum was a 4x10 and a 350 watt head. And I used that from the point that I bought it in 1992 until I sold it in 2002. And it did virtually every gig apart from when I was abroad. And that 410 and a 350 watt head would cover gigs where we had sound reinforcement, big PAs, but it would also cover all of the pub gigs and club gigs where there's no reinforcement. So if you aren't getting monitoring, you are reliant on your backline in order to be able to hear what you're doing, and for the band to hear what you're doing, and for the audience to hear what you're doing. Now, any amount of companies going, we've got these really, really small cabinets and they push out as much power as a 600-watt cabinet. You can't get past physics. You can tell me, oh, well, we've got a 1x10 cab and it will do the same sound levels as a 4x10. It won't. It won't. You're dealing with bass frequencies. Unless someone's rewritten the book on sound wave physics, it won't. It won't. You get to a point where the sound is okay, and then it will start breaking up. In order to convey bass frequencies, you need a decent size box. So if you have a small box, the quality of those bass frequencies is compromised. So if you compare a 1x10 cabinet with a 4x10 cabinet and put them together, yes, you're going to get a signal out of both, but the smaller one is not going to handle 400 watts of bass frequency. It will just blow up. If you put them side by side, it's not going to do it. The 4x10 will take it in its stride. A 1x10 isn't going to do it. Can't do it. So it depends what you want. But if you're going to be doing gigging, you don't want a finicky artisan boutique amp that says, oh, we do all this, and you want something that's going to deliver the goods. So you then have to say, well, am I buying heavy gear or am I buying light gear? Am I going to go for a combo or am I going to have a separate amp and cab? If you're going to do lots of gigging, and I don't know if you are, you might want a setup that allows you to cover all the possible eventualities. So you might want to get a good combo and buy an extension cab. Loads of people used to buy SWR Redhead combos because they're great, 210, really good sound, good for most gigs. But if you got a bigger gig, if you can connect that to a 1x15, a 212, 410, or another 210, that just gives you that extra to get the gig done. But it's up to you. How much do you want to spend? How heavy do you want the gear? And how many gigs are you going to do? If you're only going to do 5 gigs, what's the point in coughing out a load of money? You don't really need to do that. But, you know, like I say, when I first turned pro, 410, 350 watt head was like the base level to cover all the work. So I didn't have to keep buying different amps, different cabs. And I used that for ages. And then eventually you can't say, I'm not going to keep moving the camera. There's a Hartke 2x10 combo over there. And as I was coming towards the end of using Hartke for about a year and a half, there were some gigs where the combo was more than loud enough. So I didn't need to take the 410 and the head. And when the 3500 head went wrong a couple of times, I can either take the 200 watt head out of the combo and use that with the 410, or I could take that combo and connect up the 410 and I'd have a 610. So that was always an option. So then for a while I had an amp, a cab and a combo, all by Hartke, all interchangeable. So if the 200 watt combo amplifier went down, I could put the 3500 straight into the housing because it was the same size, same dimensions. So yeah, there we go. Gareth Harrison, Phil Jones has tried with small speakers. Phil Jones stuff is great, but there will come a point if you take that into a gig and you've got drums and guitars and vocals and you've got no PA reinforcement, there will come a point where the limitations of that unit, if it's one of their small combos, will show up. They will. Especially if in rock, blues, there's a lot of pumping 8 notes and you know, you want quality of tone. And I've seen many gigs long time ago where you turn up, or you might be the second band on, or you might be on your way to a venue and you've gone to another bar to have a drink before you go back to the bar you're playing in, and seen bands, and usually it's younger guys who don't know, they're learning, and they'll have a small little, either a small bass combo or a small bass enclosure and a little Class D amp. And they're just struggling along, and the bass is on full, and all the EQs up, and you look at the amplifier, and if it was like an old Trace or a Hartke or Ashdown Mark King head, and all the frequencies are on full whack, and it's like, do you want to tell him or shall I? You know, it's one of those. But you learn this stuff. You learn as you're doing it. I got very lucky that the first rig I bought, as opposed to the combos I bought when I started out, the first rig I bought was totally up to the job I needed it to do. I wasn't one of these guys that was buying amplification every 6 to 12 months. Once I bought that Hartke rig, it did everything I needed it to do for 10 years. Oh yeah, Patrick Sweeney always put everything through front of house if possible. Yes, however, if you're playing a venue and you don't have a particularly big or loud PA and you haven't got subs, like even when we were in the 3-piece, bass never ran through our PA. That was specifically for vocals and track. We did have a sub bin for 15 years and 2 tops, but you'd never run bass through it because it would sap too much of the frequency and the power. We would occasionally reinforce the guitar through the PA, but the rest of it was vocal and track, and that was it. But also because my gear was so lovely and loud, it didn't need to really go through the PA. And it's one of those things, bass just manages to get in the way of upper frequencies. And with 3-piece band, we didn't have a sound man, so you know, got to mix it quick and leave it. Although our drummer would constantly fiddle, called him the fiddler. He just constantly, it's like you're not out the front, you don't even know the things you're adjusting, you're not hearing the effect of, so it makes no sense. But anyway, yeah, there we go. Gareth Harrison, you got 2 TC28 cabs, okay. I bought to use with my Elf. Yep, hardly use them. You never know down the road, Gareth, you might need them. You never know. That's why I keep this, well, you can't see it, but going that way along the back, I've got amps and cabs and combos and stuff. You never know when you're going to need it. And I've been in that position where I've had stuff, got rid, and then 6 months later, I needed that. Why did I get rid? You do. So I learned a long time ago, unless I've got to get rid of something, just keep it, because you don't know. At some point, I'm going to hit a point where you're not going to need it, and then it can go. But no, on the amplification front, since about 2001, I've never been in a position where I've thought I need more. I've always had enough to do the jobs I've done. But I always want, in that situation with amplification, I always want 2 cabs. So for smaller gigs, you use 1. Bigger gigs, you got 2. The only thing I don't like about the AG700 is the fact I can't use 2 cabinets because I've got 4 ohm cabs. I could use 1 4 and 1 8, but then I've got to start going down the route of 8 ohm cabs, and none of my amps use 8 ohm cabs apart from the Hartke. So yeah, Patrick Sweeney, of course, the problem with small venue not going through the PA is being too close to your rig, deafening everyone else in the band, not being able to hear yourself. It's a talent, and you only acquire it through practice and doing it and doing lots of gigs. And you suddenly, because for years I used to put my 410 on top of a flight case, so it was up, so I got projection, but then what you sacrifice is proper bottom end. But then a lot of stages in venues and clubs would be hollow. You'd be on the stage and it would be hollow underneath with an open front, and all that happens then is your bass frequency gets sucked down through the stage and projected out, so the room ends up a bass trap. And again, you only learn that over time. So I learnt very quickly, if there's an open fronted stage, try and isolate your cabinet if possible. Gareth, both your mark bass teeth in. Both of your mark bass cabs are 4 ohms. All my cabs are 4 ohms since I went to EBS stuff in 2002. My EBS, Aguilar. Yeah, that's all I've got. And then, like I say, the 2 combos. So the Hartkeys 8s, SWRs are 4, I think. Barefaced cab solved the problem with the AG700. It's not a problem, Patrick. If I need to take 2 cabs and it means I have to not take the AG700, then so be it. There's plenty of amps to go with it. Your BT3 is capable of going from 2 ohms up to 16 ohms. Why would you be running a setup at 16 ohms? I don't know. Because you either buy cabinets at 8 or 4. And as you add the cabs, the resistance goes down. I don't know why you'd have a 16 ohm setup unless you're using cones that were at some bizarre resistance. But yeah, I know the thing with the AG700 is you use a 4 ohm cab and then you have an 8 ohm cab, but I don't want to start crossing over cab resistance. Oh, very good. You wouldn't, but that's its rating. That's fine. Yeah, I just like to keep everything standard. So when I got my EBS stuff and I ended up with 5 cabinets, I just wanted them all at the same, which they were. They were all at 4. So for any gig, I can take any amp and any cabinet, and there's no compatibility issues. And that works for me. But, you know, now in a position where I rarely use amplification. It's becoming less and less, but that's also because the amount of gigs are becoming less and less for me. And a lot of the stuff, people just go, we don't want amps on stage, we don't want cabs. Just want you plugging into a board or a preamp pedal. And then that goes in the system, you're on ears, and that's it. But these and the whole IEM thing wasn't a cheap option 10 years ago. It's only since about 2017, 2018, 2019 it's become a financial reality for most musicians and bands. So 'tis what it is. 'Tis what it is. There we go. I think you're something chopped off your response there, Patrick. What do I use to power the IEMs? Well, I've got a Sennheiser G3, so it's basically a little. You got a transmitter and a receiver, and that comes with its own adapter. You plug it in the wall. XLR feed from the mixer, which has got my IEM signal that goes in the back via XLR. Have a little. The transmitter is the box. Receiver is the little backpack. Stick that on my pocket. IEMs go into that. That's it. And then I have a monitor feed. And that's it. Joe Packett, good to see you. Hello all. How was your gig last week? It was eventful. So at the start of the live chat, I explained what happened. So we had to start the whole first set 4 times due to power outage. Not enough power in the marquee, and On the fourth attempt, we got it all up and running. I had 9-volt battery issues in my GB, which were fine at sound check. And when I came out to do the gig, decided they were going to start conking out. Thankfully, I managed to get the bass off, put another bass on, and that got me through the first set. And then I put replacement batteries in the first bass so I could use it for the second set. And it was freezing cold when we came out. It was bitterly cold last weekend. But we did have good pizza. And I did a live chat. I don't know if any of you saw that. I think some of you might. I did a live chat. I was killing time, but also we had a really good Wi-Fi feed at the venue, which is why there weren't a lot of impromptu chats last year, because the mobile internet reception for a lot of the gigs I did last year was awful, and I couldn't have done a live chat. It just wouldn't have stood up. But we had Wi-Fi last week, and I thought, right, carrying on from last week's live chat, let's do another one. So I did. And it was quite good. I think we chewed the fat for about an hour, so all good. Patrick Sweeney, I suspect soon enough IEMs and no backline will become the industry norm, even in pub gigs. I feel that way now. I don't do many pub gigs and club gigs like I used to, but I just keep reading and hearing the same thing. And more venues are having noise restrictions put on them by councils, or there are flats above them and they're not allowed to make huge amounts of noise. And it's just the way it is. Just the way it is. But like I said, I don't do a lot of those sort of gigs anymore. So for me, it's not a big thing. But then like tonight, we're playing in a club in London, request show. All I'm taking is a pedal board and a bass, 2 leads. That's it. There's a little amp there. There's a TC Electronic amp there. I'll use that to have a bit of rumble by my leg, but we're all on IEMs. So the sound guy there does a quick mix. Bang, off we go. Do three sets, 3 40-minute sets. And end of the night, bass goes in the bag, pedals go in the case, cables go in the bag, and I'm on the tube back home. Unfortunately, rigs will at some stage become like classic car shows. Yeah, things we used to have. I think you're right. I think people will have amps at home, and the degree of that will be nostalgia. And I think you'll have stuff in studios and rehearsal rooms, but I think on a lot of gigs it just ain't gonna be a thing. And I think people have looked at the cost of it. I mean, how many times have you looked at Bass Chat or any of the big big bass forums, and a new all singing, all dancing bass rig comes out? Everyone sells the stuff they've got. They buy that new rig, and within 6 to 12 months, they're selling that rig and buying the next thing that's coming. And I think people have just worn tired of it. And it's like, how much can it improve on what's already out there? And what are you chasing in terms of tone? That the new thing is that much better than what you already had. But then, as I just said with Mark Bass, it's like if they're producing Class D gear and you can't get it repaired, and the only solution to your amp going wrong is to buy a new one, it's a hell of a business model, and fair play that they make it work for them. But I just don't know how happy your customer base is having to do that. So you basically plump down a few £100 for an amp that you can't get repaired, and when it goes wrong, you're going to have to buy a new one. Here we go. But that's the nature of Class D. That's what it is. We wanted small, lightweight, powerful gear, and that's the flip side of what the benefit you get. That's the other side of the coin. Well, that's my perception of it. How did you get on with your bass setups, Joe? Joe Packett that we were talking about last week. Did you get the tools? Did you get the things you needed? Let me know. How old is it? There we go. Joe Goose, have you disappeared or are you amp hunting? Let me know. Joe, no new tools yet. You've been letting your fingers and arthritis calm down. Fair play. I'll be going in the workshop on Tuesday. Monday's video day, Tuesday's workshop day. I'll be filming these basses, getting the strings changed and cleaning and setups and all the other little jobs. And then it will be coming up here on the channel for you fine people. So, yeah. So, topic of conversation this week, bass lines every bassist should know. What are your thoughts? What are your suggestions? I did throw out a fairly substantial list earlier. And Lord knows there's plenty of other songs I could chuck into that mix. I will turn that into a long form video at some point here on the channel. But there's certainly a good 100 songs that if you learnt them and put them in your repertoire, you could make a reasonable living just playing those songs, gig after gig after gig after gig. And then where you take it from there afterwards is up to you. Joe, I was playing a lot with rounds on my jazz and pressing too hard on those top frets. Oh, okay. You were playing a lot with flats, you meant. Okay, yeah, a heftier string. Gareth, depends on the gig, certainly does. Got two solutions there, Joe. You can either play with a lighter touch and not use so much pressure from your wrist, your thumb and your fingers, or you can reduce your string gauge or use some lower tension strings. So you can keep the gauge but reduce the tension. So you'd need to do a bit of investigation online to find those, because every brand has a slightly different tension. So it's 20 to 5 here at Brooks's Bass Corner. Live chat 96 coming your way from London. Is anyone out gigging? I know Gareth's out tonight. Patrick, are you out tonight? Where are you performing for the masses? Joe Packett, the pain seems to be under my callus. I'm just learning about low tensions. I was too new to ask when I put the strings on. That's all right. This is how you learn these things. Yeah, low tension strings might help you there. But like I say, you could change gauge. Whether that produces a bass tone that you're happy with is another thing. But I played a bass last night. Friend popped in, just picked up a second-hand bass that he'd bought, and I think the strings on it were 35s, 95s, and he was going, I love these, they're great. And it's like, You would. They're 35.95. You can whiz around on them, but you're not going to get huge amounts of bottom end there. You're not going to get a solid sort of frequency. You'll get fine, but on a gig you might find they're just a bit too sort of clattery and stuff. But if that solves your finger pain and your arthritis, then give them a go. I mean, if you go down to 30-90, then you're going to really hear the difference. But depends what sort of bass style you're playing and what sort of tone you're after. Apologies for the dogs yapping. Thank you. They're off. Amazon delivery man, probably. About to reappear. He'll get bored in a minute. The pain seems to be under your callus. It sounds like you've probably bruised your callus, but there's no callus there. I sometimes get it myself. Usually after periods of not having played consistently for a while, and then either doing a run of gigs night after night after night after night, or doing some serious practice, and you'll get pain, but there'll be no bruise. And you'll think, that's the weirdest thing, but I've had it enough times over the years that you just get used to it. And the only way to get rid of it is just to keep on playing, and you play through it and the callus hardens up, and before you know it, the pain's gone, and 'tis what it is. It's not ideal. It's joy being a bass player and playing with your fingers. If you play with a pick, that never happens. But it's like trying to use fingerprint recognition on your mobile phone as a bass player. It's virtually impossible. You could use your little finger on your right hand, maybe my third and my thumb, but I can't use the first two because there's no fingerprint there. The calluses have destroyed the fingerprint. Doesn't work that great on the left hand either. In fact, right the little finger, I could use my third finger or my thumb, but that's the way it goes. So anyone got their eye on anything that's being launched at NAMM? I haven't done any research on what companies are launching, but I'm going to keep an eye on it this week and see if there's anything interesting coming out. Excuse me. New kitchen put paid to that. Yeah, I hear you, Patrick Sweeney. These things happen, sadly. I'm sure your new kitchen will be lovely and you'll thoroughly enjoy it, and it will bring hours of fun. Hello, sir. Dawson, how are you? Hope all is well. We're going to be here probably for about another 12 minutes, sir. So got to go and type myself up. I've got to cook dinner and very quickly run a couple of tunes before I leave for tonight's gig. Patrick, the kitchen's done and is lovely. My wife is very pleased. I've had that new kitchen happiness and it doesn't last. It lasts until the first thing gets damaged or dinged, and or the first cutlery drawer tray gets damaged. And the level of swearing when you find the company you've bought your kitchen from doesn't carry on stocking spares of things is immense. As we found out last year when we were trying to get, we were trying to buy new sink grills that go in the bottom of the sink. And went back to the company we bought our stuff from the same place. And they went, oh, no, we don't carry stock of stuff that we sold sort of 4 or 5 years ago. You'll just have to go online and try and find the nearest thing to that. It was like, right, okay. And it took the amount of toing and froing online to try and find something that fit the sink. Crazy. Oh, you're not allowed to go in and use it. Well, that doesn't surprise me. That doesn't surprise me. Heaven help. Well, this is the thing. You're not allowed to go in and use it until she does the first thing to change the kitchen. Yeah. And they won't tell you. They won't tell you that because you'll go in and go, do you realise that drawer runner's not right? Well, what have you done? I haven't done anything. I've literally just pulled the drawer out. I've been through all this. I've been through all this. What did you do to that cupboard door? I didn't do anything. Well, it doesn't line up now. You must have done something. Did you slam it? I've been there. Dawson, you went to your local guitar shop last night and jammed for a bit. Cool. Thank you for giving me the courage to go there. That's all right. You've got to get out there and do these things. Go and check the gear out. That's it. Did they have any good bass stuff in there? Any second-hand stuff worth talking about? Anything nice? See, over here, we're now in that period in the middle of January where you keep your eyes open because lots of people have got their tax bills coming in and their Christmas credit card bills. And generally speaking, most Januaries, this is when gear starts suddenly, good gear as well. People have to suddenly come up with money, especially if they get a tax bill that they haven't put any money aside for. And good gear goes. So anyone who saw my post yesterday on the channel, yesterday was exactly 10 years since that alembic on the wall there, that fella. I found that. After I just interviewed Neil Fairclough from Queen. I was going to see Queen that night at the O2, but I had 4 or 5 hours to kill before I could go down there for the show. And I decided to go to the gallery. I've told this story before. If you've watched the bass collection video on the channel, you'll have heard this. So I went to the gallery just on the off chance, see what was in there. Hadn't been there for a while, probably 3-4 months. And I walked in there, my friend John there said, oh, have you come to see the alembic? I was like, what? What are you talking about? He said, the alembic that's coming. I said, what alembic? Yeah, the guy that came in, he brought like 10 basses. Now, I don't know who this guy is. I think his name was Barry Ryan, something like that. Some of his basses, he'd put transfers of his name either on the front or the back of the headstock, I guess, in case they got stolen and he could trace them. And he'd put in, I'm trying to remember, so there was that alembic, Status Series 2 headed, 2 or 3 GBs, all Spitfires, 2 Sadowskis. There might have been a couple of other basses. Anyway, that was the alembic that he traded in. And I said to John, I said, what's prompted all this? He said, I don't know, but the guy came in with a whole load of gear and it's all up on commission sale. So my only, either he needed money quick And at that time of year, I'm guessing it was either a tax bill or a credit card bill, or maybe someone had died, or an inheritance tax bill or something. Anyway, I plugged that in, and I'd only bought the 20th anniversary a year before. Plugged the Mark King signature in. It was like, well, this is a totally different bass sound to the 20th anniversary. And he said, "Do you want it? You buying it?" I said, "Absolutely." So we got the guy on the phone. We sorted out a price, and that was the end of that. So it does happen. January is the month. Don't find it tends to happen in July when the second instalment of self-assessment tax has to be paid, because normally in July people have summer gigs, but now generally the Christmas money has been spent, the Christmas gigs money has started to run out. You've got your Christmas credit card bill, and then you get your tax bill. And if, like I say, if you haven't put money aside, it can come as a shock. It did for me the year before. No, it was the year I bought that. That's right. The year I bought the 20th anniversary Alembic. I bought that on the 1st of February, 2014. January 2014, I had the tax bill, which was for 2012 to 2013. And it was huge. I remember saying to my accountant, "This isn't the way it was meant to be." He said, "Well, the problem is they've changed the rulings on putting like bass purchases and stuff through. Used to have 4 years of depreciation. It's now been extended to 8. So where you bought a bass and thought that price was depreciated over 4, it's now over 8. So you've had less in terms of expenditure to go into that year's accounts." He said, "What you need to do is, if you're going to buy basses, is buy ones that hold their value and go up, not down. Buy 1 or 2 if you can, and hold on to it, and then in a year or two's time, trade them in, because you're going to get more money back. But also, if you pay more, I think at that time, if you paid more than £1,000 for a bass, it could go in 1 year as opposed to the 8 years of depreciation." He says, so if you get a bass that's £2, £3, £4, £5,000, you're totally on it at that point. So funnily enough, the Alembic appeared just after I'd paid that bill, so that went in on the following year's accounts, and it worked out for me. So yeah, Patrick, you got to go. We're wassailing. Google it. It takes a long time to explain. Cheers, Mike, and everyone. I will Google it. Wassailing. What the hell is that? Take it easy, Patrick. We'll see you soon. Is a traditional English celebration, involves drinking, like it, singing, yeah, dancing, no, to bless orchards and wish good health. Okay, it's often celebrated around Christmas and New Year. A wassail drink, a spiced beverage made from mulled ale, wine, or cider. I like that bit. Sometimes with honey and egg. No. Okay, well, enjoy yourself. Oh, I get it. It's like 12th night, January 5th. Old 12th night, January 17th. Yes, you're a day late. Unless it's a weekend thing, is it? Maybe. Dawson, just wanted to get the LED out and play something loud. I didn't look at much gear. It was rather tunnel vision. That's okay. Vissel, good to see you. Evening. Sorry I'm late. Did I miss anything? Only about 3 hours of chat. Well, you missed the first half hour because I forgot to press the go live button. So I was talking to myself for 27 minutes, but it's been absolutely riveting since. So really, you need to watch this back. So we're going to be winding this up in the next couple of minutes. So I've got a gig to go to. So, but I hope you're well. Hope New Year finds you well, fit and healthy, and all that. If anyone's in the centre of London looking for something to do tonight, I will be in Greek Street, just around the corner from Charing Cross Road, doing a request show with a band. Greek Street Live. And we will be there live from 9 o'clock, doing 3 40-minute sets. So if you are in the centre of town, or you're even going to a show and maybe your show finishes, you want something to do afterwards, we will be there till midnight. From 9 till midnight. Should be a blast. I haven't done this show since third week in November. So it'll be interesting. And as soon as this live chat finishes, I'm quickly going to spend half an hour running a couple of songs that I've forgotten to run in my stupidity. And there's a high chance they could appear tonight. So I need to quickly run them, get them under my fingers, get the brain neurons kicking in. Yeah. Do. Okay. Just checking everything. Yeah, it's all good. My volume is a little low. I'm not talking at full volume tonight. I'm just sort of backing off a little because I may have to do BVs later. And I don't know, I've got this feeling like there's something at the back of my throat. And I think it's a residual coldy flu thing going on. You're straining to hear. Turn that up. That might be better. Should be okay. I know I'm hitting the red on the volume dial. But I'm trying not to talk too loud because my throat feels a bit dry and a bit husky. And I don't want to be shouting and damaging my voice. Although I've got 2 weeks off, but I've got loads of video editing to do this week. And I've got voiceover stuff to do on the videos. So trying to save the old Hobsons. But it's coming up towards 5 o'clock here in London. I'm going to wind the live chat down. I'm going off to do my show, grab a quick bite to eat, and then I'm out the door. So thank you, everyone, for attending the live chat today. It's been a pleasure. Sorry for the first opening half hour, complete faux pas. So if you tuned in and I wasn't here, I just forgot to press the go live button. I was trying to do too many things all at once and just forgot to press go live. Or I did press go live and the mouse slipped or didn't hit the button as it needed to do. So I apologize for that. So if you're watching after the event, I'll have cut that first half an hour off. You will be none the wiser. But yes, there we go. So on that note, new video up on Monday. There won't be anything tomorrow because I'm going to see my mum and dad for their birthdays tomorrow. So that's my day tomorrow. Monday, new video. I'm going to try and go for 2 or 3 a week over the next couple of weeks because I've got no gigs. So should be good. Shorts going up, videos, reviews, demos. Got to do last Saturday's gig vlog. That will be up. I'm not going to vlog tonight. It's too hard to do it walking through the middle of London with a phone camera in front of you and trying to do it and narrate it, and you're in a very cramped club and it just doesn't make for great viewing. So I'm not going to do tonight, but I will be doing the next couple of gigs that I've got coming up afterwards. So enjoy the videos. Please give this video a thumbs up. Please like all the other videos on the channel. Leave comments. Share the videos out to social media. Very much appreciated. Thank you to all new subscribers. Thank you for getting on board the bus. I hope you find some content that you find useful and helpful. And on that note, I will see you next Saturday for next Saturday's live chat, which will be live chat 97. We're getting near the big 100. We will be live from, I think it's 2 o'clock again. I did say earlier, it is 2 o'clock on the 25th. Live chat 2 till 5. Or whenever we finish. I don't have a gig next Saturday, so we can go on as long as people want to chat. So it's all good. So on that note, I will wish you goodbye. Have a great week. Enjoy your bass playing. If you need to get a hold of me, social media, or you can email me, brooks'sbasscorner@gmail.com, and I'll reply. Kev C Bass, you've come on right at the end. We'll see you next week. Come on the live chat, 2 o'clock, Saturday afternoon. So I'm off to do my show. Have a great Saturday. Enjoy yourselves. Stay fit and healthy. And I'll see you next week. Take it easy. Have a good week.